The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on February 20th, 2024.
It's time now for Business Matters, brought to you by Mokulele Airlines. Now here's your host, Pam Tumpop.
Good morning. Welcome to the Business Matters radio show, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. I am your host, Pamela Tumpop, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, and it is a beautiful Tuesday morning, absolutely glorious day with the sun shining from Pukalani. And today we're going to continue our conversation that we had last week with Jennings Imel, Vice President of the Western Region in the Government Affairs Division at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And then we're going to talk to Karli Rose, small business owner of To Be Organics. We've had Karli on before. We're going to get an update from Karli and hear how things are going from her. And we are also going to just talk a little bit about things going on. I'm going to have Cindy let me know when we hear from Jennings. But
we do. He's on the line right now.
Awesome. Great. Well, let me introduce Jennings again. If you didn't get to hear his intro because he is such an important position, he is the Vice President of the Western Region in the Government Affairs Division at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. This is a really important office. It is responsible for legislative and political grassroots activities in Arizona, California, Hawaii, Nevada, Utah, and all in support of the Chamber's national public policy goals. Before joining the U.S. Chamber in 2013, Jennings worked in Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Association of Former Members of Congress and at the public affairs firm Mercury, Clark, and Weinstock. Earlier, he worked in the California State Assembly and managed and worked on several successful congressional and state legislative campaigns, mostly in Southern California. He received his master's degree in international affairs from the George Washington University and bachelor's degrees in political science and German from the University of California, Riverside. So, Jennings, we are so glad to have you back on because there's always so much to talk about, and we ran short of time last week.
Thanks for having me on again, Pam. As always, happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, one of the questions we didn't get to talk about last week, and there's still a lot of news on this, if you can talk to us about the recap of the border security and Ukraine supplemental bill, and where are we at right now?
Sure. Well, where we're at right now is essentially the House and Senate are gone back in their home states and in their home districts for the next week and a half or so. And then the House is going to be slated to hopefully take up, although the path remains unclear as to how they're going to go about doing this, but to hopefully take up the supplemental spending package on Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. That's the package that passed out of the Senate with a bipartisan vote, about 70 votes in support. So you had, a majority of Democrats, strong majority of Democrats, nearly half of the Republican members in the Senate voting in support of that package. That was kind of taken off of the original package that was put together a couple of weeks ago by Senators Langford, Sinema, and Murphy. That, of course, was the large border security and Ukraine supplemental package. Unfortunately, pretty much within 24 hours of the text being released, that bill was declared dead on arrival. There were quite a few folks that were not happy with some of the border security provisions that were in there, but really I think a lot of it just kind of had to do with politics. It wasn't the right time, and always with immigration, politics kind of gets in the way in a lot of these things. And once a couple of misrepresentations of the bill got out there into media and things like that, they really kind of took off over a couple of hours. And whereas we had pretty strong support going in to the weekend when the bill was ultimately released, we had good indications from a lot of Republican senators going into that. Unfortunately, they kind of reversed course, and especially given the indications on the House side, where Speaker Johnson essentially declared that there was no chance that bill was going to come to the House floor. all of those things essentially torpedoed the bill, and the Senate, however, was able to successfully take off the kind of the foreign aid piece of it and pass that on its own. But the border security stuff, very disappointed at the U.S. Chamber that did not get a vote. These are some of the most important border security provisions that we've seen come out of Congress in the last several decades. It would have totally reformed our asylum system, the parole system. It would have essentially ended catch and release on asylum. So really unfortunate the way that things kind of played out. But we're going to continue to talk about border security and the need to make reforms to our immigration system that's been broken for the last 30 years. So at the U.S. Chamber, it's going to continue to be a big focus for us. But we'll see how things play out on the House side with the Ukraine, Taiwan, Israel package. That'll be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. And of course, we keep saying that we're busing people.
Right.
Texas is busing people and sending them to D.C. and now, it's getting very interesting. The last, this is very important. And so when you talk about the Senate was able to pass a piece of the aid, tell us a little bit about that, and where is that aid going to, and how will it help Ukraine or in other areas?
Sure. So most of that aid is going to be for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan. It's about $60 billion for Ukraine directly, $14 billion for Israel, and then there's several $billion for some humanitarian relief efforts in and around Gaza and Taiwan. So most of it is going to be dedicated for Ukraine, and I think that the urgency of that has been lifted over the last couple of days with what happened with Navalny, the chief kind of political opponent of Vladimir Putin, and his death in a Russian prison. You had the kind of scare last week about kind of Russian nuclear capabilities against American satellites that could be forthcoming here in some period of time. So I think that there's been increased kind of alarm, and then also the fact that Ukraine is really suffering, and we're seeing that kind of tangibly, that they're really struggling to keep up and defending their territory, and Russia is kind of slowly starting to advance in Ukraine. So I think that there is a little bit more alarm and a sense of urgency that the House needs to be acting soon. It's just that the path forward remains really, really unclear. There's about half of the Republican conference that has essentially made it clear that they don't want to do much of anything on Ukraine funding. Many of them said that in order to do something, they would need to see some sort of border security package. Of course, that all came apart on the Senate side. So now the insistence is that they take up something like H.R. 2, which was a much more conservative border package that passed over a year ago in the House. That's got no path of going anywhere in the Senate and with President Biden. So there have been, threats against Speaker Johnson's job if he doesn't handle this the right way. There's been talk of doing a discharge petition where all Democrats would join a handful of Republicans in essentially forcing a vote on the House floor. It really does remain very unclear. It's going to be a messy process to get this out, but every day that we wait, Ukraine suffers. And this is not a good thing. This is something that, we typically at the U.S. Chamber don't get involved in foreign affairs and geopolitical matters like these, but we have to in this case, because it really kind of signals an American retreat if we don't back up our allies and we allow Ukraine to get overrun. And an American retreat globally, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in the Pacific, is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for international peace and stability. It's not a good thing for the free flow of commerce, for shipping lanes. All of these things that we've come to rely on, really kind of since the end of World War II, but more specifically since the end of the Cold War, that have enabled us to have the greatest period of economic growth in the history of mankind. All of that has been guaranteed by kind of the projection of American force abroad, and the fact that the United States would guarantee a certain degree of peace and open shipping lanes, open trade, all of those things. And if we continue to signal that we're going back on those commitments, that we're going to be looking more inward and not going to be there for our allies and our friends when they need it the most, that's not a good thing for the international community, and it's certainly not a good thing from the business perspective for the global economy or for American businesses.
Absolutely. And it's scary, very scary, especially listening to, the threats we've seen from China if we continue to help Taiwan. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think on the Taiwan issue, absolutely, because we have to continue to signal to China that we are going to be there for Taiwan, and that's why Ukraine is so important as well, because China is absolutely paying attention to how we respond to Russia and to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and if we're going to not have the wherewithal to stick things out and to continue to assist our allies in Ukraine, then absolutely President Xi in China is looking at that in the context of what his plans are for Taiwan. And is America actually going to be there to defend Taiwan if China does attempt to take Taiwan by force and bring it back within the one country model of China, which has been a long-term objective, as we know, for China. So that absolutely is a scary thing. And what that means in terms of kind of the free flow of commerce through the South China Sea and that part of the world where that's one of the busiest parts of the world for the flow of goods. That's a bad thing, obviously, for the United States and for our interests. And it's certainly a bad thing for Hawaii, which is so interconnected, obviously, with the East Asia Pacific region in trade and commerce. If you have a kind of an emergent China that's going to be more aggressive in closing shipping lanes and taking pieces of land, taking Taiwan or asserting its control over other islands in the area, that's not going to be a good thing. And that absolutely is going to get in the way of kind of economic free flow from Hawaii to the Asia Pacific region.
Yeah. I'm very concerned about it. And I'm always surprised when I listen to a lot of the defense that we publicize talking about how they've done these simulated war games and we continue to lose.
Right.
As we do these simulated war games with China, how are we strengthening our defense in that area?
Well, I think that's certainly been a focus of the Congress, of the administration, the last couple of years, because you're right, a lot of these war games have shown that we have vulnerabilities. I think when you look at the shipbuilding in the country, the amount of ships that we have available, the amount of submarines, it's gone down over the last several decades, the number of ships that we have that are ready for operation to deploy. And then we've got a lot of other issues that are going on, obviously, with what's happening in Europe, but then also in the Middle East. And then you look at the Red Sea and you look at kind of Houthi rebels that continue to fire missiles at U.S. and British ships and then commercial vessels. There are a lot of different obligations that are straining our current naval, the U.S. Navy and our capacity. And certainly that's going to be a problem. And especially as we are not building the ships at the rate that we need to, we're not doing the maintenance at the rate that we need to. Meanwhile, China is obviously investing a lot of money in that area. They continue to build ships at a very rapid pace. That is a long-term concern. And I think it's something that at least over the last couple of years has gotten on Congress's radar and the administration's radar. And thankfully, when it comes to military spending, we've seen military spending stay, for the most part, fairly robust. There seems to be, bipartisan support for that. And hopefully that will continue. But it's definitely going to continue to be a long-term challenge.
Yeah, as we see all these different areas in trouble and we're trying to help shore them up, it's very concerning to me. And as you said, especially living in Hawaii. Let's talk about one of the things we didn't really get to spend much time on is sort of a lot of the work that you're doing to defend free enterprise and, more of a pro-business stance. And the work that you're doing with pro-governing members of Congress. Let's talk about some of the highlights there and some of the key things that people really should be aware of and be ringing in on right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our work there is underscored by the reality that we're seeing in D.C. And it has a lot to do with the stuff that I was just mentioning. The border bill, you look at that as an example, where we have a once in a decade, once in 2 decades opportunity for Congress to actually do something on an area where everybody pretty much agrees is broken across party lines, and Congress isn't able to do anything. And even our nation's defense, which so far, like I said, has been bipartisan, even then getting the NDAA passed was a tremendous struggle at the end of last year. And I think that's going to continue to be the case. Frankly, if you look at the last session of Congress, the NDAA, keeping the government open and making sure that we didn't default on our debt, those are the big accomplishments from the first session of Congress. It was actually the least productive Congress that we've seen in American history. 20 bills were signed ultimately by President Biden last year. This is not a good thing. The institution of Congress is not working for the American people like it should. I think all of us kind of get that sense. And, what we need to be doing as a business community is trying to do what we can to build out a bench of pro-business members of Congress that agree with our positions on free markets, on issue areas from tax to regulations. All of those things are great. We need that alignment. But we also need these members to be pro-governing, to actually want to go to Washington, D.C. to get things done, to do the hard work at the committee level, to work across the aisle with their colleagues. And it takes a lot to do that. We need more members that have that kind of attitude. And so we've really at the U.S. Chamber been working hard on the political side of things, how we can get behind those folks that are running for office or the incumbent members of Congress that share our values. How can we get behind them? How can we help them? And on the relationship side, how can we build these relationships? And that's where we work as well with local chambers like you all, the Maui Chamber, and kind of, getting in front of these members early, right? You've got Congresswoman Jill Takuda, freshman member of Congress. She's been doing a great job of kind of doing outreach to chambers of commerce, but making sure that members like that are engaged with the business community from the very beginning. They're hearing from us, that they're understanding our concerns. And that helps us. That puts us ultimately in a better position to have more members that align with us and are willing to actually do the hard work of governing. They don't go to Washington, D.C. just to build their brand or to grandstand or make political points. They actually want to get things done. So that's been a kind of big picture, long-term focus of ours, is how do we build out that bench of both Republicans and Democrats that align with our values? Because if you look at the election trends over the last 25 years, we constantly see change elections, Republican, Democrat flipping back and forth from House, Senate, White House. These things change virtually every 2 years, seeing very narrow majorities in both the Senate and the House like we have now. With that, if that's going to continue to be the trend line over the next several years and decade or so, we are going to need folks that align with us in both parties, and we're going to have to build out that center to actually get things done. And that center is going to have more power too. And those kind of Congresses where they're extremely divided, we think that's going to be the center of gravity to get things done. And we're going to be positioned well if we have good relationships there with Republicans and Democrats that share our values. So that's what we're doing on the congressional side. And then big picture kind of, talking points when messaging on free enterprise. We've been very aggressive on that as well, understanding that free markets are increasingly under attack. The business community is under attack from the progressive left, where, there's a sense that business is too big, too powerful, needs to be reined in. And then even from the populist right, where there's talk of industrial policy, of controlling trade, controlling how businesses compete with one another. And this is becoming a big concern for us in the business community because, we've been operating under a system over the last 50 years where we've had limited government overreach, limited government regulation, and innovative markets. And that's been a good thing. But prior to that, in the 1970s and before, there was quite a bit of regulation in the aviation sector, freight, all of these things. And that was kind of the case for 50 years. It was kind of the Keynesian era, essentially. And we fear that we could be sliding back to that kind of a place where, there's going to be more government intervention. There's fewer voices that are speaking up for free markets and the business community. And so that's why long-term, we're going to need to continue to talk about that, because we can go back the way it was in the 60s and 70s. And we don't want to go there because we think the last 50 years for the American economy, for the international economy, have been pretty good when you look at the prosperity and wage growth and things like that. So we want to keep that momentum. That's going to be a big picture kind of a priority of ours. And we look forward to working with the Maui Chamber on that project.
Well, thank you so much. We look forward to working with you. I think this is going to be a huge election for us, and the craziest one I think we're all going to look back on and say, how did we get here to get to this point? But I really appreciate you being on today, Jennings, because there's so much. I mean, every time we talk, we could do an hour show, and I think as we start leading up to the election and some of these things, where we really have to get back to educating people about, just as you said, this history that you're talking about what it was like in the 60s and 70s, and what it's like now, and what that means, and even our global positioning. I mean, every single comment you've made this morning, we could dissect into 20 different conversations or more. So we'll continue to have you on. We deeply appreciate you providing information in this area. And, we are just now starting. Of course, we're with the wildfires. We're a little bit behind where we want to be, but we're catching up soon on different forums and things that we want to have to be educating people about the importance of this election and the importance of understanding free enterprise and understanding, some of these geopolitical things and what it means not just for Hawaii, but for businesses general, what it means for America, and really start engaging people again. And, I think we saw a lot of that when the Tea Party sort of had their movement and they started educating people on sort of some of these principles, but they've died down for many years. And so we just haven't seen that conversation heightened the way it was at a certain point in time, and kind of at a critical point in time then too. So thank you for all that you do, and we'll just keep calling you and see when you're available to have you on more.
That sounds good. No, happy to do it. Absolutely.
Awesome, Jennings. Thank you so much, and I wish you a beautiful Maui day, but in your neck of the woods. Are you in California?
I am. And we've got another atmospheric river, unfortunately.
No. No. Oh, we've been watching it, brutal. Well, our hearts are with you. Our hearts and prayers are with you. We hope that it goes well.
Thank you, Pam. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care of you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we're going to be right back after a brief message from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines, and then we're going to speak with Karli Rose.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
Okay, we're back, and we have our guest on the line, Pam.
Thank you, Cindy. Good morning, Karli. How are you? Karli, can you hear me?
She's there, but I can't hear her either. She may call back. Well, she called in. She called in on the ad, so maybe she needs to call back.
Oh, okay. We'll ask Karli to call back in.
Oh, you know what I wanted to talk about is you've got an exciting thing that BizMix is coming up, sponsored by Alaska Airlines. Oh, I think she's coming back. Let's try one more time on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Well, while is she on?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Karli, give me just a minute. I want to introduce you. Karli Rose is an amazing manufacturer. She brings over 25 years of spa and salon experience and is a certified holistic practitioner, licensed cosmetologist, as well as a certified organic cosmetic chemist from Formula Botanica founder. She founded To Be Organics, and now has really found her passion for empowering individuals, especially women, through her dedication to making them not just look, but truly feel beautiful through the products they use. Her journey began with a personal struggle with sensitive skin. She recognized the lack of eco-friendly beauty products that combine both authenticity and efficacy. And Karli is on a mission to revolutionize the industry with her premium skincare and hair care line called To Be Organics, which you have seen and heard about through the annual Made in Maui County Festival. Good morning, Karli. How are you?
Good morning. Aloha. Thank you for having me this morning.
Aloha. We are so glad to have you on the show and talk about To Be Organic. And I, I too have had very sensitive skin growing up. So So it's always been important for me to find things, even one of the products, Neutrogena, that everybody said, oh, that was the perfect product for those who had sensitive skin and allergies, never worked for me. So can you tell me a little bit about
I have found that more and more people have sensitive skin. And working in the salon, that's one of the main things that I would see is just so many sensitivities and people not knowing what they were sensitive to.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, right? The trial and error of all these different products as you try to figure out what works for you. So tell us a little bit about that. And you mentioned in your bio, you talked about how you have sensitive skin. So what was your journey that led you to the creation of To Be Organic?
Yeah, I've always had sensitive skin. Ever since I was a little kid, I would always have itchy skin, hives. My mom would try changing the bar soap, the laundry detergent, and I always seemed to have some kind of irritation and, just couldn't figure out what it was. And then as I got older and when I went to cosmetology school, I just started having even more issues. I started having psoriasis and eczema between my fingers, just really weird rashes. And what I found was through process of elimination that I was really allergic to added fragrance. And I was also allergic to preservative combinations. And and I don't think a lot of people realize that, you might use one serum and it has a preservative in it, which you might not be allergic to. But then you put a moisturizer on top of it that has a different preservative, and those interact with each other and cause your skin to have a reaction. So it's not necessarily one product, it's the layering of products that can cause a reaction also. And really, it was through process of elimination that I really discovered what was triggering my issues. And I just started making my own products. And I noticed that my clients were also having these same issues. And I'm a natural girl, so in the salon, I research and really get into every single professional product. And I really tried to find the cleanest, most natural ingredient list to use on my clients. And I just really struggled with finding a truly clean product line that had all of the ingredients that I believed in. There would always be one or two ingredients in there, either the added fragrance or the synthetic preservative I knew was derived from formaldehyde that causes irritation. There was always one ingredient, two ingredients that I knew were triggering. And so it was really hard for me to find products, one, that I could use. I ended up towards the end of my career having to use gloves for everything.
Wow.
And then my clients, too, having so many irritations. So, I just started making products and offering them to my clients, and they noticed a tremendous improvement in their skin.
I think that's phenomenal. And you're really on a mission through this company. This is certainly a personal need for you, but tell us about your mission to help others.
To be organics, to be is really means to exist and to be. Yeah. And it is the philosophy of the company to be and to encourage others to be authentically themselves and to be the best version of you that you can be. And I believe that through self-care, and, I've spent over 25 years in the salon spa industry. So self-care is a big part of how I live my life. And I have found that those little moments that we take for granted are the moments when we truly can connect with ourselves and truly authentically be who we are. And the more of those moments that we have, the more we carry that through the entirety of our day. And that is a trickle-down effect to really finding what brings us joy. And so that we can live authentically ourselves and to really, truly be happy. And those little moments we think are really hard to find. We have to plan our whole day to have, that moment to, to read a book and, kids are running around and, house needs to be cleaned. And you're like, well, how do I have that moment? And I have found that by just that moment you wash your face, that 2 seconds, we wash our face every night before we go to bed. And if you're using a product that you think is beautiful and you open that, you take that jar and you're like, oh, I love this product. Right there, you connect. Not only do you connect with the product, but you connect with yourself in a moment of joy. You open that product and it smells amazing. And you just inhale it and you're like, and you just have that moment. And then you wash your face. You are actually connecting with yourself by touching your skin, healing touch, feeling beautiful. You rinse your skin and it's glowing and you feel beautiful in that moment. And that literally took no time. It's something we do every day. And those are the moments that we take advantage of that I feel are so special and the most important moments in our day.
And so that's how to be shared that story.
That's how To Be Organics, really wants to support well-being.
It is really important, and it's one of those things. So many people right now, I just find. I'm glad that you talked about, taking care of your own body and that healing touch in those moments. Just, take a few extra moments when you're in the shower just to enjoy the shower, the moments when you're putting on your skincare. And one of the things that I found over the years, when you're younger, sometimes, and especially you're raising children, you have to, we as women often scrimp on ourselves in terms of how much we spend on product or the things that we're putting on our body. We've got tight budgets, we're raising our children, and what you learn as you get older is some of those really quality products are so much better for you, and the extra money is really minimal. You're putting this on every day, and you're getting such joy from the product. As you said, I just always find that when I get to the products that work for me, it not only does it save time because it works for me, but I get time back to find the right product. But it
absolutely
in terms of how you feel when you're putting on product.
Absolutely. And, we always think that the good products are going to break the bank too. And that is not the truth. There are, to be organics, we aren't a super high price product. But my whole mission with developing this line was to create high-end luxury products that everybody can afford. So there are products out there that are wonderful, that are luxurious, that do have quality ingredients that aren't going to break the bank for you. And it really is about choosing one or two items. It doesn't have to be a whole cabinet full of, where you're spending, $200-$300, to get that moment. One product can bring that for you. Even if it's a room spray, we have our everything spray that you spray. It's a room, body, linen spray. It's 100% natural. And just spraying that in your living room and then sitting in there for a moment creates that breath that we need sometimes in our busy day. So it's really just finding key products that work for you, work in your lifestyle to create these moments for yourself.
And that's a great point as well. Let's talk a minute about the room spray, because I know one of your points is you want to elevate the self-care experience, but also beyond just the skincare products. So the room spray is another one of those things that you've created to elevate people's lives.
Yes, most of the aromatic products out there are not natural. Even when they say they are natural, there is synthetic fragrance in it, or there is a preservative in it that is synthetic, because anything that contains water has to have a preservative or it will grow bacteria. So our room spray, I have formulated so that it is 100% natural. We don't use any synthetic fragrances. The fragrances that we use are 100% natural. They're USDA certified organic. And our preservative is from sugarcane. It's organic alcohol derived from sugarcane. It's a completely natural, non-toxic way to preserve so that you're not getting any of those extra, you're not breathing in any of those extra toxic things that you just don't need. So it's a very clean, and you can feel that when you spray it. And so you're using something that's good for you. It's not going to create any kind of toxic environment. And we infuse it with Hawaiian sea salt, which creates negative ions that promote the feeling of well-being. So it's very similar if you were to jump in the ocean or breathe in ocean air, that feeling you get, or when you stand by a waterfall, that gives off negative ions, and that just gives you a sense of peace. So we have infused that in our spray so that as you're spraying your home, you're spraying your linens, you're spraying yourself, you are really instilling that feeling of well-being.
Phenomenal. And I know, as you've been pointing out throughout, that everything that you've been doing, you've been incorporating these really clean ingredients, and it's really integrated into your brand. So, I think you've shared that really well. But maybe talk a little bit about sort of the breadth of your ingredients and how you've incorporated that throughout the brand.
Well, I am a researcher. I love to research. And if there's a rabbit hole to go down, I will find it. And I have always been that way, especially with ingredients. I don't know what it is. I'm such a nerd about it. Seriously, I love reading labels. I love Googling. One of my most favorite things is calling my vendors and asking them, and going down that rabbit hole of where did the ingredient come from? How was it sourced? How is it processed? What is the chain that it goes through? It's so fascinating to me how this process comes about to create these beautiful ingredients. And so that is one of the things that I do with every formulation is every ingredient is vetted. And I go down that rabbit hole and really find out the journey that it has been through to make sure that the end product is what stands by our ethos. And then, every ingredient that goes into the product is chosen for a specific reason. Our products, the base of our product line is waterless. Our cleansers, our scrubs, our lotions, they are waterless. So you are getting 100% of the pure, beautiful ingredients and the nutrients and the minerals of those oils and butters and botanicals with no dilution. So every ingredient is chosen specifically for a purpose, so you get the most benefits out of those products.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been watching these shows. Somebody actually gave me this gift, and it was the cream that she was using, and she bought it online, and it was from China. And the cream didn't have any ingredients on the jar. And I said, "Oh, please don't use this, because we've been seeing shows about makeup and other things. With some of the ingredients, with some of the challenges people are having with their skin from stuff being brought in from China, with no idea what to find it." And with your product, not only do we know you're researching every single ingredient, but you're carefully crafting these, making sure that the ingredients are as clean as possible, sourced appropriately, looking at how they work together. making sure that, again, as she talked about earlier, overlays of things and how they can interact to create just these glorious and luxurious, affordable products for us right here in Maui.
Yes, and I'm an open book. I love talking about ingredients. We have customers come into our shop all the time. I get emails asking us questions about the ingredients. I love having that conversation because there's so much misinformation, especially online with with what ingredients are. So I love having that conversation. We are completely transparent. Our shop in Wailuku is completely open concept. So when you come in and shop, you can actually see us making the products. So you know that they are 100% authentically handmade on Maui in Wailuku, and you can actually see us doing the whole process. So we love that transparency with our customers.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, this is stuff we're putting on our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
And I
absolutely every day.
The team in Wailuku, you're going to have just a completely different experience. Karli, tell everybody where they can find you at your shop in Wailuku.
So we are located at 485 Waiale Road. We're in the blue building next to the water store, To Be Organics. And we have a boutique there. You can smell and try all of our products. It's a great way to experience our entire line. And you can see us making everything while you're there. And we love to see everyone in person. And you can also shop online at tobeorganics.com.
Fantastic. Well, Karli, I just always am so fascinated every time I get to talk to you. I learn so much. Thank you for joining us on the show today. And thank you
so much for having me.
It's our great pleasure. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day. All right.
You too. Aloha. Well, we're going to talk a little bit with Cindy about business.
I'm so excited. This is really a wonderful tradition, and everyone knows this is such a great event, and it's coming up really soon, isn't it?
It's coming up on March 16th. It will be our third Business Maui. The first one was held days before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. Mayor Victorino was there, and it was literally, people were starting to elbow bump, and out by the following Monday, we started to say, okay, we're going to have to start social distancing. And the great thing was we don't know of anybody who had got COVID at that event, but we had a glorious event. It was outdoors. Business is a mix and mingle, avant-garde, fabulous theatrical entertainers kind of mixing and mingling with our guests, as well as spectacular food plates by Grand Wailea and other local chefs. And it's just a fun event. It is meant to be a networking and dining experience that is very unique and a lot of fun. And it's themed each year. And the first year was Emergence. And by the way, we also have a great costume contest for best dressed, however people choose to do it. But we have a phenomenal prize from Alaska Airlines. But it'll be held at the Grand Wailea. The first one was Emergence. The second one was Black and White. We had a lot of fun people dressing all in black and white and some great entertainers. And this year it's Under the Sea. And tickets are $250. Sponsorship packages are available. We've got a lot of excitement around it. The attire is ocean themed, ocean colors, or come in costume. There'll be some great prizes. And when you come in costume, you're kind of part of the entertainment portion of the party. We're going to have it's sort of unique experiences everywhere you turn, along with great food and great fun. And each year we have great connections that are made between our businesses. Everybody's dying for networking activities again. We've kind of had a very challenging time with the wildfires. And people are saying, they just missed those interactions. And so we're excited to do it on March 16th at the Grand Wailea Resort. Alaska Airlines is our title sponsor. We are so proud to have them sponsor this event again this year. And they also are bringing Hyre. Hyre is a local group, and they work with Trish as the lead singer. And we're going to have some amazing acoustical performances by Hyre. And so, in addition, there'll be fun at every turn. And you got to bring your camera. This is one of those things that you're going to see unique experiences. And we were so pleased last year to have Mayor Bisson and his wife join us. And we'll be reaching out to them again. But it's a great time and a dinner that you'll never forget.
And what are you going to wear?
I will be in costume.
Okay.
I will tell you what I wore last year, which was, I won't tell you what I'm going to be this year. Amber and I kind of keep our costumes a secret, but we are in costume. But last year, I was the sort of a take on, in black and white, the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland.
I love it.
And there are some limited pictures. People might still be able to find some of those pictures. And Amber was had a costume where she was half, her part of the costume was half black and the other part of the costume was half white, including her hair and makeup. So
I love it.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, and so it's going to be a great night. It's going to be 6 to 9:30. Some great musical performances, but and great things to see, and fun things on the decor. We give away a lot of the decor at the end, but this year's theme is Under the Sea, so you can expect lots of things that you would see under the sea around. And we have a silent auction that people can contribute to the silent auction. We are grateful. This is our only fundraiser for the Maui Chamber of Commerce. And we are funded by, we are a membership organization. We are a 501c6 membership organization. We do also have a 501c3 foundation where we've been taking in money to help businesses and help with programs during this time and apply for other programs to help the business community during this time. But this is the membership organization through the chamber where a lot of times people say, oh, well, you get a grant for this or that. And that's true. We have very small, a few grants that we do, but that money goes to those projects programs. This is money that supports the staff of the chamber. For example, last week, Amber and our team, we have some help with reviews with Dawn. We rang in on 40 pieces of statewide legislation just last week. And that's reading multi-page bills. We're trying to interpret the bills, understand what they mean to the business sector, what they mean to the people of Maui, what they mean to our progress. There's a lot of bills on the wildfires going forward. There's a lot of efforts where they want to have new boards and commissions and organizations to oversee it. There's a lot of resiliency efforts, which is good to make sure that we're better protected moving forward. But there's a lot of ways where there can be new things being set up that take control. Sometimes may be helpful and sometimes maybe take control away from our local community. So there's a lot of things that we're ringing in on, and a lot of overlap where we're asking them to consider, the package as an entirety, picking the best of the best ideas where we have some overlap, and get to a comprehensive plan on how we move forward from the wildfires, also recognizing that there's a Maui Economic Recovery Commission, known as the MERC, that's already been established with 100 people. So lots of things happening right now. Lots of things where we're working with new groups and looking at how we can help them. We're working on a musicians program to help local musicians who have lost a lot of their playing opportunities. With restaurants and hotels, we'll be able to fund a lot of their activities so that they can play at the restaurants and hotels. The restaurants and hotels who are suffering and have reduced crowds, they can then take that money and put it into marketing so we can benefit some of our promotional companies who have been hurting as a result of not having as much advertising as they did prior to the wildfires. We can help our businesses who usually have entertainment bring entertainment back, and we can help the entertainers make some money where their income has been greatly reduced through lost gigs. So that's just one example of some of the things that we're
Well,
doing.
and I do want to chirp in because I think some people don't see, of course, and know about what you're doing behind the scenes, but I was a part and honored to be a part of a group you put together to let the Small Business Administration hear. I was impressed that you brought in some heavy weights, some from Washington, to hear what people were going through with the Small Business Administration process. And that was very impactful, and it was a very impressive group of people. The Small Business Administration really needed to hear from the chamber, which is, I think you've been one of the greatest advocates, Pam, for trying to get businesses through the very hard times during COVID and definitely after the fires. And that's still continuing, of course, because many people are learning about how long this process really can be and how you have to get by until you hear. And then if you hear and it's negative, what you do then, and what are the steps you can take. It's very important work that you're doing. We only have 2 minutes left, but I did want you to let people know how they can get tickets. And if they want to be a sponsor, you have sponsorships available. Is that correct?
We do. We have sponsorships available as well as the ticket. Just go to MauiChamber.com and learn more. It's called BizMix Maui 2024 Under the Sea. And you'll be seeing a lot of things coming out on social media. It's going to be a great event. Join us. And I do want to say, we did bring in Isabel Guzman, who is the administrator for the SBA, to do a listening session. And as a result, we're working on a concierge-type program for those who have not heard back on their loan or have had some hiccups on their SBA EIDL loan or maybe didn't apply. We're trying to get people to apply. So reach out to us. We'll share how we can help. We're taking down a list of names. So let us know. If you were turned down, let us know. We'll try and push things through.
I was so impressed that you actually were doing that and very aware of the businesses that had the struggles. A lot of people have not spoken up or didn't know who to speak up to if that happened. And so I hope...
Speak up to us.
Yes.
She said at that meeting, and she meant it, that we have a direct line to her, and we brought people together so she would hear that a lot of people are struggling with getting these loans, and the process has been cumbersome. And she was surprised to hear the degree to which it's been cumbersome. She gets it now, and we're working to push forward. So you can call the chamber at 244, I'm thinking of the station's number, 244-0081. You can reach out to office@mauichamber.com. We are putting together a list for a concierge-type program to get loans through the SBA and push through and get you some individualized help. So we're here for all those businesses, Lahaina, as well as those who needed an EIDL loan in other markets.
Well, it's time to say aloha, my friend, and I just want to say thank you so much. You do an amazing job, and it's so appreciated. It truly is. And if you missed a part of the show, you can listen again on Friday. And there's a repeat show. Yeah, absolutely great show to hear. Thank you. Have a beautiful day, and thanks for all the work you and Amber and the whole team do there. We do appreciate the work you offer and the insight you give.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Blessings and aloha to everyone. We hope you'll tune in again next week.
Base.